Why, good evening. Good evening. It is 6 o'clock and it is time for Lens on Real Estate. And welcome. It's been a minute, but we are still in the game of wanting to bring to our community information in terms of the real estate industry. We're coming to you once again through Our Black Media, the Our Black Media Network. And the network itself is engaged in bringing information, knowledge, and information to our community, information that we find to be very important and relevant today. And we have a wonderful, great guest in store for you today. And we're going to be looking at real estate through the lens of public housing. And what better person to have to speak to you today none other than the Executive Director of Savannah's Housing Authority of Savannah. So we are going to have Executive Director Earline Davis. We're going to be bringing her on in a moment. But once again, I want to thank you all for taking the time out to join us today on Lens on Real Estate. Now, we're going to go ahead and not belabor anything because our guest has a wealth of information to bring to us. And I also found out, too, in my research that the Housing Authority of Savannah has some part in terms of a home buyer program as well. So we'll hopefully get to that in this interview with the executive director. So we're going to bring her onto the stage right now and welcome Executive Director Earline Wesley Davis, the Executive Director of the Housing Authority of Savannah. Welcome to Lens on Real Estate.
Well, thank you, Diann Williams Scott.
And I'm going to tell my audience, I've been knowing Executive Director Davis for quite some time, and I'm going to keep this professional though. So I'm going to be referring to her as just that because well deserved. Executive Director Davis, I'll be referring to her that. But we've been knowing each other for many years. We grew up pretty much in the same community, the West Savannah community. She attended and graduated. She's a Tiger of the mighty Savannah State. Tiger got her undergraduate degree there, but we'll go on when we begin to talk to her. She'll tell us a little bit more about her educational background and career. And we also currently attend the same church, which we have all our lives, the same church, Townsley Chapel AME Church, and our pastor is Reverend Charles Dumas Jr. So certainly we got a lot in common. But as I said, I'm going to keep this professional today and refer to the Executive Director Davis as just that, Executive Director. So let's go ahead and get started. Your resume reflects that you have over 30 years of administrative experience. But we're going to talk a little bit about your educational background first, because like I said, you're a Savannah State alumni. And what degree did you get at Savannah State?
Bachelor of Science in Sociology with concentration in social work.
Okay, so when you decided that that was going to be your degree path, what was your goal at the time? What were you thinking this was going to lead to?
Well, I have an older sister who had, she has an undergraduate degree in sociology and a brother and a master's degree in public health, and a brother-in-law who had a master's in social work. So I knew if I wanted to be in administration, I would need to at least attain a master's degree. So I'd always wanted to be an agency program director and or an agency director. And so that was my goal.
Okay. And as I had taken my notes, I do know, and you know, Savannah State College University's theme is you can get to anywhere from here, the HBCU. And you know what? And I thought I'm going to use this moment to talk just a bit about the HBCUs, which you and I are alumni of. And HBCUs are responsible for 75% of Black PhDs, 46% of Black business executives, 50% of Black engineers, 80% of Black federal judges, 85% of Black doctors, 50% of Black attorneys, 75% of Black military officers, 40% of Black dentists, 50% of Black pharmacists, 75% of Black veterinarians. I mean, need I say more? HBCUs are what's happening, and I definitely agree with Savannah State's motto. You can get anywhere from here. Let's put it like that. Kudos to HBCUs.
HBCUs have a rich history, and it's a story that is not told often enough, because there's this perception that you have to go to a majority university in order to be successful. And you can, as Savannah State says, you can get anywhere from here.
Right, because the data is there, and you can't argue with that. That's for sure. So it says that I say you have never, based on your resume, you've never not been a leader. You've been the director of social services, director of county human services, director of family and children's services, director of community health center, mental health center. And now currently you're the executive director of the Housing Authority of Savannah. Now, and you know, you've been all over the place in those various positions, but throughout your career, these 30 years, you've been a leader, you've been a director. So I'd like to know, what if
just one correction, at the mental health center, I was a program director, not the center
program director. Yes. Okay. Now, what would be the difference there?
Well, the center director had to be an MD.
Okay.
And there were various programs, and I was one of the program directors.
Program directors. Okay. Yes. Now, what have you found to be the key to remaining effective in these high leadership positions? Because it was 30 years, Madam Executive Davis.
30 years is quite a long time. And one of the things I found is that you surround yourself with smart people. People who are smarter than you or as smart, and give them the tools that they need once they understand your mission and your goals to be able to do their work. And it's not day-to-day micromanaging. It is supporting and making sure that everyone is, as we would say, on the northbound train, all headed in the same direction. But also my parents gave me a very, very good background. I'm the youngest of 11 children, and failure was not an option in my family. My
Amen.
mom and dad said, you will go to school, you will not cut up, you will learn. And so the 11 of us graduated from high school, and
Mm-hmm.
10 of us started college and 9 completed. So
Okay.
um, it was a family thing. And I have siblings who have been successful in their career paths as well.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And hey, I know about that Wesley family heritage, and it's something to be acknowledged for sure. Now, it says here you've been at the Savannah Housing Authority since 2002, first as executive director, then elevating to the executive director in 2007. And when I was doing this, I said, oh, wow, 21 years all total. And I was thinking, oh, wow, she surpassed, or even with the person, and I'm assuming he may have had the longest tenure, is Mr. Stillwell, or is it anyone besides him, the first director
Yes.
that's been longer?
Richard Collins, I believe, was there 26 years.
Wow, 26 years. Okay, and you as executive director has been what, 16? Am I correct on that? About 16
16,
years.
17 years, yes.
Yeah, but all total, you have been with the Savannah Housing Authority of Savannah, that is, for 21 years. Wow.
Yes.
Now, when the Housing Authority began in 1937, tell me about that, because I see where there was a resolution and they created a body of people
Yes.
that they wanted to look at the situation of clean housing and affordable housing for Savannahans.
Yes, safe, sanitary, and affordable. And
Mm-hmm.
there had to be a resolution of the city, agreement among those present that there was a need for the housing, and a submittal to the department, it was not called HUD then, that you needed that kind of housing. So in 1937, the resolution was passed, and in 1938, the Housing Authority of Savannah was established.
Wow. So in 1938 would have been the beginning of the housing authority. And we can say public housing is one and the
Yes.
same. Okay.
Yes.
So the beginnings of public housing in Savannah, Georgia, 1938. And what was the first public housing complex?
Yamacraw Village.
Wow. Yamacraw Village. My goodness.
Construction started in 1939, and the first families moved in 1941. And there were more than 400 units in Yamacraw when it was built.
Hmm.
There were several efficiencies, as well
Okay.
as 1, 2, and 3 bedrooms.
Now the efficiencies would have been just rooms with
Well,
a
no, it was an apartment, but
Mhm.
you didn't have a separate bedroom, separate kitchen. There was a separate
Okay.
bathroom, but it was fairly open. And
Oh,
my first job out of college was as a caseworker with Chatham County Department of Family and Children Services, and I had families in Yamacraw.
wow. And so over 400 units
Yes,
back then.
yes. Now they're
Okay,
315.
315. Okay. And the second development was my housing project, because that's where my beginnings were in a public housing.
Yes.
And Fellwood Homes was the second housing project, I'm understanding.
Yes, Fellwood Homes was the second, and there was a Fellwood Homes, and then they added additional units. So there was the Fellwood Homes Annex, but Fellwood Homes was the second. My dad's youngest sister and her family started in Fellwood. And one of my
Okay.
siblings and his wife and young child started in Fellwood.
Okay, which
And
today is known as Sustainable
sustainable
Bellwood. Now,
Fellwood.
what does that mean?
When housing authorities receive permission to demolish, then you have an opportunity to rename the new
Okay.
development. And citizens in West Savannah, former public housing residents, as well as uh, neighborhood community partners, did not see that the name Fellwood was disparaging. And so they voted to keep the name of Fellwood, but because it is LEED certified, meaning built green with higher energy, they added the name Sustainable. And
Oh,
so we
okay.
have um, a cistern that catches rainwater to irrigate the garden. And phase two, there's geothermal energy for the laundry room. There are solar panels on the senior building. Um,
Mhm.
in the apartments, we used blower door technology so that the utility bills wouldn't be as high. Low box paint, so you didn't get that smell. And same thing with the carpet. So because of these sustainability elements, they decided to name it Sustainable Bellwood.
Okay, interesting. Now, as the executive director, it says here also that your mission, and I'll read that. It says to effectively and efficiently address the housing needs of Savannah's low income population while focusing on the educational, job training, and economic self sufficiency needs of the residents of public housing neighborhoods and the Housing Choice Voucher Program. So they're like education, job training, economic self sufficiency, and Housing Choice Voucher Program. So are we talking about four different elements to?
Well, our primary focus is on shelter to make
Mhm.
sure that people have safe, decent, sanitary housing. We also want to make sure that our um, our I said relatives, residents
Mhm.
achieve their highest educational goals. We cannot provide that, but in our administration building, until COVID, we had a GED program. Savannah Tech provided a full-time GED instructor, and we had morning and afternoon sessions. The Housing Authority paid for the test so that people could receive their GED. We also have partnerships with other community providers for those services. We partnered with the Georgia Extension Service for some of theirs. The health clinics, we make referrals to Curtis Cooper as well as J.C. Lewis. And then the Housing Choice Voucher Program is better known as Section 8. So
Okay.
we are not direct providers of the education, job training. We also make referrals to WorkSource for this area. But we administer the public housing program as well as the Housing Choice Voucher Program.
Okay. So then, I was going to ask this later, but you mentioned it. Section 8 is also the voucher program, the choice
Yes,
voucher program.
Housing Choice Voucher.
So I see in your plan, your annual plan, where you talk about what you did in the previous year. I saw you looking at your annual plan for 2023, and it mentioned that some 9 families were moved
Homeowners?
on to became homeowners.
Yes.
So via Section 8, I didn't realize that was a possibility.
HUD makes it possible for participants in the Housing Choice Voucher Program to volunteer to become homeowners.
Mm-hmm.
So we have staff that sits down with the families and takes a look at where they are and where they would need to get to become homeowners. They have to work on their credit scores. They must be employed for a certain period of time to make sure there's stability.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, once they are ready to purchase, we refer them, they select their own realtors. We don't select the realtors. And there are lenders who work with us because of the relatively low FICO scores. Some of the larger banks are not willing to work with those home buyers. And so, and here's where it gets really interesting. The value of the voucher, let's say someone at this point is receiving subsidy through the choice program of $700 a month.
Mm-hmm.
Once they become homeowners, they continue to receive that $700 towards their mortgage payment.
Mortgage.
Yes.
Wow.
We've had 94 families become homeowners.
Okay, now is this then separate and set apart from the Savannah Dreammaker program?
The Savannah Dreammaker program is administered through the city.
Okay.
The city designates certain neighborhoods, and in those neighborhoods, to stabilize those neighborhoods, they provide down payment assistance. So as our housing choice voucher participants are going through the process to become homeowners, we make them aware of the Dreammaker program and other down payment assistance, because there's assistance available through the state for first-time home buyers. And so when they qualify for those programs, let's say your house, the purchase price is $150,000. I know that's low, but it's easier for me to work with these numbers.
I got you.
$200,000. And the Dreammaker program will provide $8,500 in down payment assistance. Then that's money you don't have to come up with. Plus, the value of your voucher goes towards your mortgage payment.
Okay. And
it's voluntary.
And I was about to say, you say it's voluntary. So do you all kind of track them afterwards, or?
Yes. Those people who volunteer for the program, we have a case manager to work with them, because for a lot of people, it's scary becoming a homeowner when you've been a renter. And so some of the worries are, what if something breaks? Who do I call? And so we have someone go out and inspect the properties before they purchase. And they can call on us at any time. The staff person can pull their credit reports and take a look at the blemishes that need to be corrected in order to raise their FICO score.
Okay.
So
now it's been about 20 minutes. I believe we could be ready for a commercial break. And if so, we're going to let the engineer take us on into that. 22 minutes in. All right, we're back off the commercial break, and we've seen a few comments out there, and we're thanking our audience for joining us today. And we're here with the Executive Director of the Housing Authority of Savannah, Ms. Earline Wesley Davis. And we're going to move on a little bit and talking to Executive Director Davis. Now, in your 5-year plan, it talks about, and I didn't realize such a specific breakdown occurs. You say low income, you just think, just low income. But in your plan, you have objectives and goals for 3 categories, and it says low income, very low income, and extremely low income. What are those identifiers? How is that broken down?
Those levels are established by HUD. So very extremely low income for a family of 4 in Savannah would be $30,000. So HUD establishes the median income for your area and then the percentage. So for a family of 4 in Savannah, the extremely low income is 30,000. Very low income, I'm sorry, let me back up. Extremely low income is 30% of median. So you take your median and 30% of that. And very low income is 50% of median for your area, and low income is 80% of median. And so when people ask, well, why are the rents at this place so high? It's because some places, not the housing authority, but private developments that accept vouchers, they are low income. So you have to earn 80% of median in order to qualify. Others 50% of median, and public housing is 30%. Okay. So let me talk a little bit about public housing and Section 8. Public housing is owned by HUD, managed by the Housing Authority. So we have 5 conventional public housing neighborhoods: Yamacraw, Fraser Homes, Stillwell Towers, Patterson Terrace, and single family homes. And with within those 800, conventional public housing neighborhoods, we have 890, I think it's 898 apartments that we hire the staff, we do the maintenance. We're like the owners, the landlords. So if something happens, you call us, we respond. Then there's the Housing Choice Voucher Program, which is much larger. And this is the program where tenants are issued a voucher which says to a landowner, this person is eligible for a subsidy, and the housing authority will pay that subsidy monthly on their behalf. And in the Housing Choice Voucher or Section 8 program, we have 3,605 Housing Choice vouchers. Now, within that, we have some that are specifically for veterans only. We have others for people who are chronically mentally ill, HIV positive, and some other conditions. So you must meet that test in order to be eligible. And then we have your what you would call your regular vouchers. So total 3,605 housing choice vouchers and 898 public housing. Now, to add some more, the Housing Authority of Savannah is a housing finance agency. So we are able to issue 4% bonds to housing developers if they're going to develop for low and moderately low income families. So you're familiar with some of those. And I have some notes here to make sure I don't leave anything out. We have...
But before you, let me ask you this though, while it's on me, because I do want to hear about that. But disabled and seniors, is there, where do they fit into that? Because you mentioned mental, you got housing for the, where do the seniors and disabled?
Those are specialized vouchers. Okay, so you have to meet one of those. In addition to being low income, you have to be disabled in the test. We have, like, Stillwell Towers is for elderly and disabled only. And we have other properties, and the housing authority has issued vouchers, or we lease the land to developers. So at Ashley Midtown, that used to be Garden Homes, there is a senior complex called the Veranda, and you must be at least 62 years of age to live there. But to make sure that once people move in, they don't have to worry about an increase in income that would increase their share of rent, we issue vouchers to those individuals. We have Sustainable Fellwood 3, which is a similar kind of arrangement for the elderly. Then we have, what's the other one for the elderly? Those two. And then there's several others. There's Live Oak, that's on Wheaton Street, that just opened earlier this year, last year. And there's several senior-only apartment complexes. And for those, the Summit over near Hunter Air Force Base, we provide assistance there also.
Okay. Yeah, I often hear of the Summit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's tenant-based rental assistance. That's where we issue the voucher to the family. So when they move, the voucher moves with them. Then there's project-based. The subsidy is on the buildings. When they move, they no longer have the subsidy.
Oh, okay. When the tenant moves, they no longer have that subsidy.
If it's a project-based, yes. When they move, the subsidy does not travel with them.
Oh, okay. Does that then, is it usually when they move, is it because any more positive, they're just moving beyond that, or?
Well, sometimes the circumstances change. They relocate to other communities. With a regular Section 8 voucher, you can move anywhere in the United States once it's issued. But you have to keep in mind the cost of housing because we only pay a certain amount.
Okay.
And like California is extremely expensive, as you might imagine.
Yeah.
But Savannah is getting there.
I interrupted you were headed towards
Right.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, we issue bonds, 4% bonds. And so you have the Woodlands at Montgomery, that's on Montgomery Crossroad, across from the old gate at Hunter. And that's 246 apartments. They're all affordable. Waters at Gateway, it's by the old Shell House, behind the old Shell House. And that's 276. Then there's the Preserve at Chatham Parkway. That's 144 apartments. Paradise, Savannah, then we have within the Victorian district, and they're scattered throughout the Victorian district. That's 233. We issued bonds for the developers so that they build or rehab these places.
These type places. Okay.
Yes, Ogeechee Place. That's the one that's across from Bojangles. They haven't opened yet.
Okay. That's brand new, isn't it?
Brand new. They've just been issued the certificate of occupancy for one building.
How many over there?
204 apartments.
Wow.
And Savannah Summit, that's the senior residence near Hunter. That's 138 units. Then we have the View at Oglethorpe. That's the old Hitch Village. We demolished and we've built 172 apartments there. Then River Point 1 is Blackshear. Demonstrate. River Point 1, Blackshear, River Point 2. Then we have Sustainable Fellwood 1, which is 110 units. Sustainable Fellwood 2, another 110 units, and the senior building, that's 100 units. And Ashley Midtown 1, that's the old Garden Homes, that's 168 units. And then scattered throughout the Benjamin Van Clark neighborhood, Ashley Midtown 2, that's 38 apartments. And the senior building, the veranda at Midtown, is 100 units. So that, in addition to the 3,065 housing choice vouchers, that's 1,078 mixed finance communities, and another 1,397 that we issued bonds for, plus the 898.
Wow. So that's in addition to the 3,000.
Yes.
My goodness. A lot.
Yes.
We have a question, Executive Director Davis. We talked earlier, mentioned Yamacraw is the first
public
housing in Savannah. And, we do know there's some, I guess of late, Yamacraw is going to be demolished. That is correct? Am I right about that? Because the question,
the housing authority.
Where will the families that live there go to live?
Okay. The application, we must submit an application to HUD requesting permission to demolish.
Okay.
There is a requirement that all of the families who would still be living there, we have to find housing for them. They wouldn't just be out on their own.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing that happened when we demolished Fellwood and when we demolished Hitch Village and Garden Homes. We are required. We meet with all of those families individually to make sure that when they move, the apartment or the house they move to is right sized, which is the correct number of bedrooms for their family size.
Okay, and
we pay moving expenses.
And in doing my research, I did see on your website you list when those meetings are. Am I right?
I did what?
You list when those meetings occur.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not like it's hidden from the public. You make
and we had 48 meetings with the residents of Yamacraw to explain the process to them. We had some meetings in the mornings and some meetings in the afternoons. And we had we accepted questions. That's all a part of our application that we are still waiting on one other piece of information before we can submit to HUD requesting permission to demolish.
Okay. And so that similar situation occurred when you did Fellwood Homes and all the others, right?
Garden Homes, Fellwood Homes, and Hitch Village, yes.
Okay. And let's clarify HUD, Housing and Urban Development. It's tie-in or connection. They're like the umbrella. Am I right there?
They're the funding source.
Okay.
They send us our money.
The federal funding source.
Yes.
Okay.
We're 100% funded by HUD, but the city participates in any new developments by providing funding for infrastructure. That's sidewalks, streets, drainage, and they do that by placing our projects on their SPLOST, the special purpose local option sales tax. So as the money comes in, then the city contracts to everything that's underground, because when we demolish a neighborhood, it has to be clean and buildable. So everything underground has to go. So there's no lead, and we have to do environmentals to make sure the land is safe.
And that's a special project in and of itself.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay. Now, Housing Authority of Savannah, but I think I saw on the website and during my search, it says that you cover parts of Chatham County. Is that correct, or is it not all?
All of the public housing neighborhoods are within the city proper.
Okay.
But for the vouchers, we cover all of Chatham and even into, Bloomingdale is between two counties. So we go to the county line, but Bloomingdale, parts of Bloomingdale and Effingham. Okay. But when a voucher is issued, you have to stay in the jurisdiction that issues the voucher for 1 year. And after that, you can go anywhere in the United States.
Okay.
It's called porting, Porting. And so the voucher holder has to request of the housing authority they want to move to, requesting permission to port, and that authority will accept or not accept them. And we continue to pay our portion of the voucher if that's necessary, or that authority will absorb our voucher holders into their number, just as we absorb some people from other places who move into our area. And HUD gives us a finite amount of money. And so we have to manage to make sure that there's enough subsidy there so that people don't lose their vouchers.
I got you. Okay. Yeah. Now, I see where throughout the state of Georgia, because when I went on the HUD, they got the whole country, and you click on your state, and I clicked on Georgia, and alphabetically it lists probably every county or the majority of the counties in Georgia with some form of public housing. And I see where Savannah, they had them by type Section 8, type low income, and type combined. And Savannah is considered combined. So those that are either one or the other, say they don't have Section 8 or whatever the other one might be, what would be the reason for that? Is it funding from HUD or?
Well, again, it's the size of the community
Okay.
and it's what the community wants. There's some communities that will have only public housing and a limited number of public housing units. They're not interested in the housing choice voucher because they don't have many private homes or apartments to support that, because there are administrative fees associated with the vouchers, because we have to determine eligibility for the voucher holder. We have to make sure that the landlord or the property owner is meeting housing quality standards. And so we have to send inspectors out. And then if there's a change in the family's income, we have to update. They receive utility allowances, and we have to put that into the system when we're calculating what their subsidy is going to be. So there's quite a bit of work. And in some communities, they don't have enough private rentals, so they're not interested. And in others, they do not want public housing. They just want the housing choice voucher so that people have the choice of moving into the private rentals.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But we're a combination because we have public housing and housing choice voucher.
Yeah. So was that something that Savannah elevated into, or you were always with?
Well, initially there was only the public housing program. Section 8 came along in the 1970s, I believe. And that's when you had to decide if you wanted to participate in the Section 8 program. And so Savannah added that. So we administer the public housing program, the housing choice voucher, and then we have the option of home ownership for those housing choice voucher participants who want to become homeowners.
Okay. So then the Housing Authority of Savannah pretty much has all you have to offer. It's available to,
if you're within a certain income. Yes.
Okay, right. Now, and I see where you have to be a resident of Chatham County. So I was wondering, how do you determine? So let's just say somebody drove up and say, I live in Savannah. How does it work where you confirm their residency?
There's no residency requirement to apply because our application process is online. So if you have access to the internet, when we open our waiting list, you can apply from anywhere. And you have to live in Chatham County when you're first issued.
Okay. You have to live in Chatham.
But no, you don't have to live here for a certain period of time. It's not like that.
Okay. All right. You get that established. Okay. Let's see. I want to ask you, and I really didn't have this on. It just came about because I thought this is significant. The Violence Against Women Act, and you all, the Housing Authority, has a program to address that, or what occurred, or what was the incentive behind this?
It is required. The Violence Against Women's Act is federal legislation, and we are required to participate. So if one of our public housing residents signs the form, they don't have to file charges against their abusers. They have to come in, they sign a form and says that they are a victim of violence. Then we have to take steps to relocate them.
Okay.
Within our public housing inventory.
Okay. Is it a lot of that?
Well, it's not a large number, but if you're the victim of violence, it's significant. And so, yeah.
Well, it's good to know that they have mechanisms to address it in a positive way. Yeah.
Yeah, and just so I make it clear, when when the individual signs the form, it does not mean that we can transfer them the next day, because we have to do it within our inventory. And if we're 95% occupied, and let's say the only vacancies are in the area where the abuser lives or close, then it wouldn't do any good to move them from one apartment to another in the same neighborhood. So we establish a list, and as soon as housing becomes available and it's the right size for the apartment, then we move them. Okay. There are times we contact family members out of state or out of the area to see if, but it's the woman who's being abused. Well, it's for men and women. The person who's abused, they have to decide if they want to stay or want to go.
I got you. Now, another question I saw here, someone wanted to know, are the elevators repaired at Stillwell
Towers? The federal government required, Stillwell Towers is a 20-story building, 210 apartments, all one bedroom. When Stillwell Towers was constructed, the requirement was for 2 elevators. The Housing Authority added a 3rd elevator, which is a freight elevator. Those elevators are old and they are used a lot. So we now have a contract to replace the 2 passenger elevators and to repair the freight elevator. What happened, we had a fire in Stillwell Towers, and the water from extinguishing the fire got into the system, and it took 1 elevator down. But right now we have a contractor. They are in the process of replacing the elevators. The other complicating factor is the cabinets, the cabins, whatever, the thing you ride in. Okay. It has to fit, because the shaft is only so wide, so they have to be custom built to fit in. Plus, you have to meet all of the ADA requirements.
Right. Absolutely.
So we've been so far, we've had elevators up more than down, and we do have a backup plan. If all elevators are down, we notify the fire department. The fire department comes out, and if there's anyone who needs to be rescued from their apartments, the firefighters will go up and get them.
Okay. All right. And that's a continuous, ongoing, no 24/7 backup plan.
Well, right now, yeah, and our elevators get a lot of use because of the number of residents, and so we're replacing all of them, but it takes time. It takes time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Now, I believe we're ready for our second commercial break.
Okay.
So we're going to go to that, and we got a few more minutes left.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we're back from our second commercial, and we're on our final segment of Lens on Real Estate. And again, today our special guest is the Executive Director of the Housing Authority of Savannah, Executive Director Earline Wesley Davis. And we're going to continue with some questions for Executive Director Davis. You mentioned earlier about, you kind of mentioned COVID, and you had the GED program, and as a result of COVID, that program was discontinued. Tell us what went into that decision and what other impacts did COVID-19 have on the Housing Authority of Savannah?
Okay, when Garden Homes was demolished, one of the things that was in the plan was to build a neighborhood resource center that would provide services to benefit the neighborhood. One of those services was GED. And so that's how we established the program, and Savannah Tech provides we provide the space. We have a computer lab that those students can use, and Savannah Tech pays the full price for the teacher. Miss Alethea Bradshaw was our GED instructor. I think you might know her.
Our own Alethea Bradshaw, our fellow
Yes.
church member, lifelong.
Yes, and so we're getting that room, and we're hoping this new COVID that they're talking about. Because you have people coming and going, but we will take whatever precautions necessary and we're planning to open. We're working with our staff to get that room back up because we've been using it for other purposes.
Okay. So that any other thing that either positively or negatively impacted the Housing Authority as a result of COVID?
Well, we didn't close. We did make some changes. And so now we receive a lot of information in a Dropbox. So for updates or your initial application, there's a packet of information that's required. You provide that information and you put it in a Dropbox that's in the lobby of our public housing and Section 8 program. And so then the staff processes and we take care of a lot of things. We communicate through cell phones. Yeah, we ask people to give us their address so that we can update them on information. What else do we do because of COVID? I think that was it. I think we didn't have staff in place for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. The administrative staff continued to work, but we had to put up the shields around individuals' desks and have the equipment to sanitize the building. And we brought staff back, and then we started working on appointments so we wouldn't have people sitting in the waiting area. And we had mask requirements, like a lot of places.
Okay. And speaking of staff, you've got a pretty nice staff here. And the organizational structure of your staff. And I see now, based on this discussion with you, because I wondered, construction management, what's that all about? And I can kind of understand now, but just give us a brief on that, construction management and the one asset management.
The asset, is that?
I think it was asset management. Rafaela Nutini is the director of that.
That title has been updated to Development Services Director.
Okay.
And so that staff works on the application for the demolition and any other updates if we are trying to acquire property, and we do a resource. Before we do anything, we take a look to make sure if we buy that property, how are we going to build, and then what assets are in that neighborhood. And assets would be close to a bus line, close to health care, close to grocery stores that provide a variety, not just your highly priced areas. So that's what, and compliance to make sure, because we get different levels of funding from HUD with different kinds of requirements attached. And so we have a compliance person on that staff as well.
Okay. And the construction management, they kind of work closely, I'm sure, with those two departments and units, right?
Well, yeah, because we're still, development and construction work together, because when we receive money that comes in, then we have to secure through a competitive process the developers, and then we have to make sure we have staff checking to make sure the developers are complying with their contract.
Okay. And looks like we got about 5 more minutes.
Okay, before we end, HUD issues fair market rents. You're familiar with those. They become effective fair market rents for our SMA, Statistical Metropolitan Area. Okay. Every October, they become effective. They have to issue those in September to give us time, and and based on the fair market rents, then we develop the payment standards for the Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program. So I just thought I would share this with you, because Savannah is getting to be more and more expensive. So now the fair market rents for an efficiency, $1,191 per month. For a one bedroom, $1,287. 2 bedrooms, $1,445. And you can go online and Google fair market rents for the Savannah, Georgia MSA. 3 bedrooms, $1,967, and 4 bedrooms, $2,306.
And this is established by HUD.
Yes.
So this is what, based on that, it's federal. They established it. This is what has to be.
Well, it doesn't mean you have to pay that. They're saying when we look around and we take into account all of the cost of rents, this is what fair market would be. Doesn't mean that we have to pay that. Yeah. Because we have to, the Housing Choice Voucher Program cannot go into a neighborhood and raise rents and drive it up for everybody who lives there. So we have to do what's called a rent reasonableness test. Just because it says a 2 bedroom is $1,445, if the rents in that area are $1,200, then it's not reasonable to pay $1,445. Doesn't mean it won't catch up. It's just that's the rent reasonableness. Okay.
So they just got a ballpark window that they can look at and work around.
Yes, we have
kind of like what we do with the when we tend to look at the comparative market analysis.
Yes, that's what it is. It's the comparison. Yes.
Okay. Now, quickly, tell me about your board. The Housing Authority has a board of commissioners. Is that correct?
Yes.
And it's a 5-member board. Tell us about that board. What do they do?
The mayor of Savannah has the exclusive right to appoint members of the Housing Authority's board. So the mayor appoints 4. There is a 5th member, and the requirement is the 5th member has to be either a public housing resident or a Housing Choice Voucher participant. We have some names that we're getting ready to send the mayor to appoint that 5th member.
Okay. And they have terms.
Yeah, 5-year terms.
5-year terms.
Yes.
Okay. And I saw where our former Chatham County superintendent was recently appointed as a board member, which is, I would imagine that's good.
Dr. Levette.
Yeah, Dr. Levette.
Dr. Levette and her family lived in public housing. Way back when she, well, not way back, but when she was way back when she was younger. Yeah, so it was, again, a starting place for them. And you can get anywhere from here.
Anywhere from here, absolutely.
She went to Savannah State too, right?
I believe so. Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Fabulous. Well, you know what? It's been exciting. It's 59 minutes, 26 seconds, and it went really fast because we were having a great conversation, great information, and great guests. Our guest today has been the executive director of the Housing Authority of Savannah, Earline Wesley Davis. And if you want to put in an application, you can go to their website. Now, when will that close? The waiting list is going to be opening up soon, or
Well,
any idea?
we open the public housing waiting list. We
Okay.
listed by bedroom size. That's public housing. So when we get to a certain number, then we open it because we need more applicants. The Section 8 waiting list is a different matter because you can apply from anywhere as long as you have internet access. So we're taking a look at the numbers that we have and making the decision if we're going to open and then how long. I think the last time we kept the waiting list open for 2 weeks and we had more than 12,000 applicants.
Wow.
Yeah, and so we're still working that list.
People need housing. Well, we want to thank you. Thank you so much for, just without hesitation, when I asked you or said to you, I want to interview you, without hesitation, you said yes. And I really, really appreciate that. So thank you so much for joining us.
And I appreciate this opportunity.
Oh, great.
We're proud of you too. We're proud of you and your family.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we have, let's see, we removed our guests from the stage, but Lens on Real Estate will be back very soon, hopefully, with another program, another informative program. And Lens on Real Estate, your host, Diann Scott, Associate Broker Realtor with Scott Realty Professionals. So we hope to see you soon. And you can watch a replay of this program on YouTube and Roku TV. So thank you for joining us today. Bye-bye.